Hello everyone, and welcome to this live broadcast for the KTaNE League Spring 2021 EFM Division. I am joined here with Grunkle Squeaky.
Hello, hello.
And the match we're commentating today will be two very strong contenders, in this competition. We have hallojasper versus Asew 54321, both being in Group C in EFM, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep, that is correct. They're both in Group C. Their record so far in that group, Asew has beaten Zeroti 3-0 and lost to Cookie 0.5 to 2.5. Jasper has only played one match, also against Zeroti, beating him out 2.5 to 0.5. So both these players have pretty decent records so far. I'm really curious to see as to how they will interact with each other, because I think in terms of playstyle, they're both commentating EFM players. At least from what I remember, I think they both like to talk over their gameplay. And they have some similar ideas in their module lists here. So I have a feeling it's going to be a relatively close game between the two.
I can definitely agree. Now, about those lists, from what I've seen from Asew's list, Asew has picked really some modules you don't see every day, like Grunkle, you have the list of, right?
Yeah, Asew had some definitely less conventional picks, like the 21, the Nomai, and the Planets, not modules you get to see every other day. Also with a console pick, which is honestly not a module I would have expected to see in a setting like this. Console is not generally regarded to be a very optimizable or challenging module, but I would assume that Asew has picked it for good reason, and I hope that we will be able to see a display of what that reason is in this match. Jasper definitely having more common modules on their list, with the usual 3D tunnels and pattern cube that we've seen from so many other players in this tournament. We also have a Tetravex, Ultra Cube, Langton Ant, so on and so forth. Nothing too out of line in Jasper's maze. Two modules that I would note are the Factory Maze and the Grid Matching. Grid matching, I think, is definitely a nice pick against people that aren't as experienced with it, because grid matching, I feel, is a module that definitely has more benefit to experience than some other modules. Yeah, I feel like grid matching is definitely one of the modules that you play a lot and get better at, other than other modules like tax returns, which generally, once you know how to do it the first time, you can just do it again and again and again.
Yeah, another thing I've noticed, some of Jasper's picks, like Tetravex as well especially, a lot of what I like to call guess and check work. And personally, I'm not a fan of those modules, but they are very effective if you can do them well.
Yeah, I agree. I think Tetravex is a great example of that, because with Tetravex, a common strategy is to look for colors that appear less often than others, and make sure that colors that need to be on the edge, because they don't have a matching pair on other tiles, are on that edge, and working from there. If you can do Tetravex well, quite obviously, if you can do Tetravex well, it gives you an advantage over other people that can't do it well.
We're talking about you, Asew, in week 0, who spent 7 minutes on Tetravex, around there. Regardless,
what I'm saying is it's in the past. I don't think you need to worry about that.
So, speaking of modules that Asew doesn't like to deal with, he has decided to veto some of Jasper's modules, and of course Jasper got to do the same for Asew. And Asew vetoed robot programming and the Ultra Cube. Ultra Cube, it's very visual heavy, and if you don't know what you're looking for, you may not have a single idea of what you're supposed to do. And robot programming is one of the longest modules on Jasper's list, and it's very tedious and repetitive, and probably not to Asew's playstyle.
on the other side of the spectrum, Jasper's bans being tax returns and module listening. Tax returns being a very cruel module. If you are off by 1 in any calculation or any number, there is a very large chance that you will end up just striking on the module and ruining a whole bunch of work after a super long read. Module listening also being in the category of experience is king, where if you have played with a lot of modules more often than the other player, you're more likely to get a faster time on module listening just by sheer recognition.
Mm-hmm. Anyway, we've spoken for long enough. Shall we get started?
Let's do it.
Alright, so here we have the first bomb. Now we're going to be hearing audio from Jasper on this, and let's see how they do in this league. Or this first match, rather.
This should be the Jasper-sided bomb, I believe, and those suspicions are confirmed with the Langtons and the Tetravex and the grid matching. We could see from Asew's list, we have the logical buttons, the... what else comes from Asew's list? The Roman art is from Asew's list, and the Asew is also from Asew's list. What is the staff pick for this bomb, Aspic?
You know, Asew was available for a staff pick this league, so it very well could be that.
Ooh, it might be the Game of Life Simple from Jasper's bomb.
No, the Game of Life Simple was not a staff pick, and...
Yeah.
There we
I'm
go.
getting my weeks mixed up somehow.
There's a set. I think that is not on anyone's list.
Yeah, that's good. There is no set on either of these lists.
Alright. Apparently the timers are very blurry. Apologize for that. It kind of makes sense. I'm pretty sure Asew and Jasper don't record their whole screen when EFMing. They're probably only have like the quarter or half of the screen, and you only have a tiny fraction of that screen to record the timer. So we apologize for the blurry timers.
On to the gameplay. Jasper appears to have started on and stuck onto Roman art since the beginning of this bomb. Asew, however, if I'm not mistaken, went to try to attempt the Asew, but got stuck and gave up. It didn't look like he found a solution. So I'm assuming he's going to be coming back to that later. It's a really unfortunate time loss. Hopefully it doesn't damage his time too much.
Yeah. I think Asew knows like most of the pictures and not all the pictures from Roman art, so that really helps. Kind of like the whole like experience matters.
Yeah. The common theme with a lot of the modules I've seen picked for the league. Which really does make sense. You want to pick the modules that you have experience with, which will give you the upper hand when they show up on your bomb.
Now, in case if you saw earlier, above the Roman art is Langton's Ant, which has screwed over many players in the team section.
That would definitely be on my ban list if I were in this league.
And to the left of that is what I would consider to be the dreaded Tetravex. And
that is a Roman art solve from Jasper, putting his first solve at less than 2.5 minutes into the bomb. Moving on to the Tetravex, we have... if you recall the strategy I talked about earlier about putting the less common numbers on the edges that they need to be on, you can see the 2s that Jasper has on the left side of the Tetravex module don't have a right-sided triangle counterpart on any of the other tiles, so we can just immediately slot those over on the left side of the module and build around them.
Another thing that stuck out to me was those zeros, and we'll be seeing that more on Asew's part. Those zeros, all of those only have the bottom section of the tile or the right section, which indicates that they must go on the bottom, and that one that Asew's messing with right now must go on the right. So that really helps in solving the module. And speaking of which, that was a very quick grid matching.
Yeah, that is exactly what I predicted to come out of Jasper here. I feel like grid matching is a module that Jasper is very comfortable with, so he's able to just knock it out of the park. Asew, however, sitting on only 1 solve now to Jasper's 3, and I don't believe he has any solves prepped. I don't know how successful he was calculating the Roman art or the Asew. Jasper getting gridlocked 4 solves in, faster than solve per minute pace. Starting now on logical buttons, a pretty destructive 3-stage module, at least for me. It's always challenging for me to see a logical buttons because it is, frankly, just a lot of work.
And honestly, there's a lot you can optimize with that, and a lot of people may not know how to do it. I think Asew has definitely learned how to do it. Has Jasper learned how to like optimize what you're supposed to get? He's spending a long time on just the first stage, so maybe not.
Well, Jasper is getting onto the logical buttons. Asew appears to have moved over to set instead. Found the set very quickly, I would say. On his third solve now, 10.5 minutes left on the bomb. Pulling out the snipping tool to work on Game of Life, a common strategy we've seen throughout the rest of the tournament.
I mean,
it's something I use as well. I am not very good at memorizing information when there's similar information right in front of me. I will get the solution and what's already there mixed up very frequently. So I will always have to do that, where I have to take it somewhere else and separate things so I don't get things mixed together in my head.
I mean, I use the snipping tool a lot. I use it for binary puzzle if I get stuck, and especially for phosphorescence, since all those colored buttons fade away after 5 seconds, and I feel like just taking a picture is just faster than writing it down.
I would agree entirely with that.
One thing I was going to notice is on the bottom right of the backside there was a factory maze, which comes off of Jasper's list.
Yeah, probably that's another one I was looking forward to seeing. Jasper finishing his second stage of logic. It is an absolute time sink of a module, but I think he has enough solves to justify taking it out this early.
Yeah, factory maze, I'm not too familiar. I know what you're supposed to do, but I'm not too familiar with how it's supposed to be solved. So I'm not...
Yeah, factory maze is absolutely one of those find a method that works for you type of modules. So if you have a good method, it is going to be absolutely crucial to getting a good time on it.
Speaking of having a good method, Hypercube is another one that you really need to have a good method for. You know, people aren't used to seeing 4-dimensional objects every day.
Don't really walk down the street, look in the window of my local shop, and just see a Hypercube for sale, do you?
I mean, I think actual Hypercubes exist, but they're different from the one in KTaNE. As you can see,
let's see if Jasper has better luck with this Asew than Asew did. Appears to be making some very quick deductions and making some good progress. Asew, a very key part of solving the module is knowing what information you're given when it comes to the black and white dots on the outskirts of the module. The white dots, if you're not familiar with the Asew puzzle, you must draw a line straight through them, and then one of the lines coming out of them must immediately bend. And the black dots are the opposite. On the black dots, the line must bend, and the lines coming out of it must be straight.
It doesn't look like we're seeing the topper of that Asew. Apparently our screens are kind of a little bit squished.
Yeah, I trust Jasper's judgment, as we should. He gets the solve on Asew. 7 solves to 4, no strikes on the board. Jasper's pace is definitely a lot better than Asew's. I'm a little concerned for Asew on this bomb, because he's not holding any solves, I don't believe.
I mean, I saw the Mormonar almost get solved, and I also saw Asew. I don't know if he left that for later.
I think so. I think it was just a concede on the Asew and come back to it at a later date. Jasper having a little bit of a time save here by not having to bring out the snipping tool to work on the Game of Life, by being able to just do it on the module itself. Which to me is an impressive feat. I can never imagine.
I don't think I could do that. I would need the interactive manual.
Correct submission here means a lot for his time, and he just continues to extend the already pretty decisive lead he has on this bomb.
Looks like Asew has decided to extend his notepad, probably just for room there. Not too sure what room in Factory Maze gets shortened to ASS, if I'm reading that correctly.
That's really unfortunate. Let's see if we can catch it when he cycles through rooms here.
Yeah, that would be nice.
Probably not the last. Oh no, that's a strike on Factory Maze. That's absolutely devastating for Asew.
Yeah, getting a strike on Factory Maze really hard to recover, according to Garuda. When
yeah,
we
absolutely.
We was on our defusal of level 96 out of the 100 levels of defusal, where Garuda struck on Factory Maze and said it was a miracle that he managed to pick it back up. As we see Asew...
no, we were wrong. He did have Solve Stored. He did have Gridlock, Game of Life, and Romanar all ready to be submitted. Big misconception on our parts, but I don't think it's enough to bring him back up to speed. He does appear to be making somewhat quick work of this first logical button stage, though.
Yeah. Apparently he can solo it. I'm not too sure how, but...
It's too much for me to memorize. Already on stage 2.
No, that's stage 3.
He has solved the entire module faster than it took for Jasper to... Oh, the incomplete Asew. Asew has to be one connected line running throughout the entire module. If you were paying attention before he submitted there, you would have seen that there was a little disconnected line of pointing at the bottom right of the module, which is going to strike him on that submission.
Anyway, Jasper working on Factory Maze now in that nice base of Monte.
I think Asew has the Asew now. There it is. We're back even on solves now, both at 9, but Asew's 2 strikes are definitely making the time lead start to come into more effect. Jasper on 4 minutes 35, while Asew was sub 4 minutes and counting on 2 strike time.
Also, if you noticed, none of them have touched Langton's Ant yet, I don't think.
Reasonably so. Langton's Ant, I believe, is a very strike-prone module, as shown throughout the other runs in this league. And so I think saving it for last is a very common strategy to make sure that it's not hurting your time bank.
And probably they're saving it for last because it's also solve-dependent as well, and I believe 10 solves on 11 module bomb is one of the more ideal solve counts to solve Langton's Ant. Except in case if you have like a boss module, then that can kind of screw things up. Now I know what got sorted into ass.
There it is. If Asew can recalibrate this Factory Maze in time, he might be able to have a decent shot of getting Langton's in time. Jasper does already have 2 of the 3 locks unlocked though, so I'm not liking Asew's chances here. Jasper gets the solve on Factory Maze, now working on Langton's Ant.
As around 3 minutes. Let's see if he can do it.
A 3-minute Langton's Ant, I think, is definitely in the cards for a player like Jasper. This does come off of his list, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
Yeah, so I would expect him to... I wouldn't be surprised if Jasper could manage to pull this off and get the full bomb solve on what I would say is a pretty impressive set of modules to do so on.
Asew still stuck in that Factory Maze.
This just goes to show again how important strike differential can be, because the time difference is now up to 1:40. Asew's red's lights are flashing when Jasper's still on 2.5 minutes.
Yeah, if Asew blows up before he gets another solve, this will be an automatic win to Jasper.
This solve is going to be absolutely crucial, and Langton's Ant solve is out of the question here, I would say. He gets 1 unlock, 2 locks left in order to get the solve onto the Factory Maze.
I'm not sure about this.
Yeah, it is... Oh, he just needs to get the last lock in time. If he does that, then he still has a shot of Jasper can't get
he does!
He gets the Factory Maze, pulls up to 10 solves, just longingly looks at the Langton's Ant. Jasper, however, is coloring in already.
And that will be it.
And he gets the Langton in just over a minute.
And with that,
the bomb.
Jasper takes the first win in this match. Now 1-0 on his bomb, so kind of expected, but very nice.
Wow. Absolutely amazing performance from both players there, I would say. I think that Asew getting the miscalculation on Factory Maze and then I would assume a miss submission on Asew definitely impacted his chances there. But bringing it back up to 10 solves with that quick Factory Maze recalculation at the end definitely gave him a better shot.
All right. Shall I move on to bomb number 2? Grunkle?
Hey.
I take that as a yes.
Oh, you were asking if I was ready. Of course I'm ready.
All right. So bomb 2 will now be skewed more in Asew's favor, and we'll get to hear his audio and his lovely voice. As you see on, we have the close button.
Oh, there's the close button. You can definitely see some of Asew's funnier modules here on his bomb, being the close button, the 21 I believe I saw. There's also a DNA mutation and a colorful dials.
Yeah, a lot of modules that a lot of people would not find fun, in my opinion.
I wouldn't. Yeah, if I rolled this bomb in free play, I would probably just go to the next one.
Now,
Asew appearing to start off on planets, would everyone loves the infamous 21 multiplied by 22 module.
Yeah, some people have refused to play this module entirely because of that rule alone.
Quite honestly, I can understand it. Jasper reasonably starting off with a module coming from his list, the Hexamaze. What other Jasper modules do we have on this bomb? We have the X-Ray.
X-Ray.
On the right side there.
And
getting a very quick Hexamaze solving.
As you can see, Asew typed that really fast for a console. That console is one of the few modules in KTaNE that takes input from the diffuser's keyboard. I think there's only one or two other modules that do that. There's Typing Tutor and One Links to All, I think.
Yes, One Links to All. Just got it not too long ago.
Typing Tutor is a needy, so it was not eligible to be picked this season.
Asew appearing to have a valid Massey submission this time, but holding off on the solve once more.
Interesting how he got KFC on a very memey bomb for that 21.
Bomb's hungry. Jasper starting work on the close button. Close button has always been an extremely intimidating module to me, mainly due to just the fact that it's Cruel Match'em 2.
I mean, I would compare it more to Burger Alarm. The one with the food with the table swapping, except the swapping works a little bit differently this time. Now, fortunately, this recently got an interactive.
God bless.
Yeah, so fun fact about Grunkle is he came to me to validate his bounty bombs, One Tells the Truth and the Other Always Lies, and close button was going to be on The Other Always Lies, and I said no.
Quite frankly, I'm glad that you gave that ruling, otherwise I'm not entirely sure if anyone would have done it.
Yeah.
Jasper starting on his own Massey. Hopefully he will see the same patterns that Asew did with the 3 white dots in a row. The main thing to notice there is that there can't be a line going straight through the 3 dots, because then the middle dot doesn't have a bend on either side, since you can't turn in the middle of a white dot. Asew picked it up almost immediately. It seems to be taking Jasper a little bit longer to figure it out. Meanwhile, we are currently even on both solves and strikes. Jasper and Asew both having 3 solves down with 11 in them. Just over half minutes to go on the bomb.
Asew is probably holding solves again. He's looking like he's holding that Masio, so he probably has more than...
He appears to only be holding the ones that he dislikes, apparently.
I would just solve them, but that's just me. As we see, there's a 5-pointed star, which can... I was going to say more of that, but I couldn't.
No, Asew's just done with the X-ray. No need to comment. It's just over. We'll try next time.
I mean, I have my own EFM bombs to try again, so... So going on to encrypted Morse there. Now, the thing I learned about encrypted Morse is you don't need a lot of the information on the module.
A lot of it is unnecessary to solve, that's true. And quite frankly, I'm glad that encrypted Morse was updated a while ago, because otherwise I doubt it would see play in a league setting ever. If you see that binary display on the right, that used to be consecutive flashing green and red LED, greens for 1s and reds for 0s, and you would have to notate that entire string in order to solve the module.
I'm not mistaken, did this module also used to have multiple stages?
I can't say that I remember.
I don't know.
I really tried to force the old version out of my head, if I'm being perfectly honest.
Yeah, I didn't remember what the old version was like, other than an old version exists. As you can see, Asew finishing that encrypted Morse and going on to Pattern Cube.
There is the third Jasper module on this bomb, I believe, the Pattern Cube.
Jasper submitting 21, which, yeah, the common strategy I've seemed to see is to keep adding 9 until the ones digit matches up, and then keep adding powers of 10, and then increase the exponent every time you're done with that digit, and then keep moving on to the left.
If it works, it works.
Mm-hmm.
Both of them now on the Pattern Cube. Asew getting there a little bit earlier, but I wonder if Jasper will be able to take it faster. Asew having a solve lead by only 1, but of course it's to be expected on his own bomb.
Mm-hmm.
Jasper catching up here would be really big for him.
Oh,
Jasper
looks like he's already entering. Now, will he only be entering 2 other symbols? Because sometimes they might only do it in...
I think it's definitely possible Asew has the entire solution here already, inputting it in one go. But Jasper does it as well. It looks like they're going to be finishing up at almost the exact same time.
Yeah. Jasper highlighted the other symbols, probably doing most of the orientation stuff in his head.
Mm-hmm. I think ultimately Jasper took less time on that Pattern Cube. However, Asew being ahead in pacing definitely gives him a little more wiggle room to go a little slower on the Pattern Cube.
Turns out Kanye West is on the console. Some people are probably celebrating in the background.
Kanye West, an important part of the console, versus the small enemy spider. That is a reference to the very niche and underground streamer German985. Fun fact, the creator of this module, Bananas2, has actually put themselves in the module labeled as the character High. They have the worst stats out of any character you can roll in the module.
I mean, hey, you can't beef yourself up too much.
Yeah, fair enough. Asew appears to be starting to submit his console. If he gets the full solve right here, I think that will nearly cement the bomb in his favor.
Bowley's a good one.
Oh, we see a strike
Jasper
on
strikes
planets.
on planets. Oh no!
He definitely needs help.
A strike halfway through the bomb is absolutely going to do a number on the time here. I think that might even end up being a deciding factor for this bomb. Not only just with the time counting down, but also the added pressure of getting a strike on your opponent-sided bomb. Fully expecting us to have to go to bomb 3 here.
Yeah. So you're now looking at DNA mutation, which is... I think it's kind of similar to genetic sequence, except that it's less rules, but more of doing the rules.
It's less rules, more work.
Yeah. And, I think... I don't see a lot of people that know genetic sequence. And from my experience, it's usually a module that people try to avoid because there's some tricky rules in there. Such as the unlit indicator rule that reverses... It inverses and reverses the input.
Which will do absolute wonders if you put it on a bomb against an opponent who isn't familiar with those rules. A lot of people, I have noticed, seem to dislike putting cruel piano keys on their bombs for the same reason of nobody likes doing a retrograde inverse calculation. I wonder why. Yeah, the only catch with that is I think cruel piano keys has a cheat sheet. So it was probably not allowed to be picked this season because the team behind validating the modules was a little bit tougher on modules with big cheat sheets like number pad and boggle. Yeah, the number pad ban is definitely something I can understand, especially due to number pad having essentially what is a lookup table. Which is a shame because I really love modules like Know Your Way, which I think is a very novel concept with making sure you orient yourself properly. However, the lookup table cheat sheet really does just reduce it to a confetti cannon of a module. So now looking at colorful dials, a module that is, I think it's just weird. It's It's funky. That's really the best adjective I have for it.
Yeah,
I think I would say it's another very strike-prone module. I would say more so than most of the other modules on this bomb. So Asew going for it 9th is a little bit of a surprise to me. But if he gets a clean submission here, it's absolutely going to do wonders for him.
Now, one thing to note is that oh, another strike on the console from Jasper there.
Ooh!
I was going to say, Colorful Dials is long, so he probably saved it for this late, just so he can get more solves by the quicker modules.
Yeah, this is absolutely going to be an interesting set to see played out fully. I think that Jasper being 2 strikes, 50 seconds, and 2 solves down is absolutely probably going to be the end for him on this bomb.
I think
it seems that both the players have a history of completely messing up on the other players' modules.
I think
so. On a bomb where it's half and half, I feel like that's definitely going to possibly even end up just coming down to what the staff pick is.
Yeah. I think Asew is also holding both Masu and DNA Mutation, so if he solves Colorful Dials, he probably has this bomb solved. He's going to submit Colorful Dials, has to submit on the correct time, and he does. Let's see if the rest of the modules are correct. And they are!
And there it is, full solve at a pace of greater than a module a minute from Asew.
Very impressive time for that bomb. We'll now have the audio switch over to Jasper's side as he tries to finish his bomb, but unfortunately he does take the loss here, now resulting in a tie match, 1-1.
We will have to see the 3rd bomb come out, 5 modules from players' lists and 1 staff pick as usual. How much do you think the individual player list roles are going to have an effect on the outcome of this 3rd bomb aspect?
You know, it really depends. There's a lot of strengths for some modules for one player, and same with the other player. Now, one thing I noticed is we haven't seen No Mai yet from Asew's list, and that is a very wonky module that could definitely give him the upper hand in Bomb 3. And that was not vetoed.
Definitely disorient you if you're not paying close attention. Remind me of the rules this season, Espic. If a module is pulled from one of the 2 previous bombs, can it still show up on the 3rd one?
Yes, but like all the modules from a list will appear at least once. And
so that means we will be seeing the No Mai in the 3rd bomb, which I feel like will absolutely give Asew an edge.
Yeah.
Is there anything we have yet to see from Jasper that might do Asew in?
Nothing that I can remember, since that was the most memorable like module that can give an edge from Asew's list that I can think of that hasn't shown up yet.
Yeah.
See, Jasper solving that DNA mutation will get the 7 solves, but unfortunately it looks like he won't be able to solve anything else.
Very unfortunate strike on planets and console. Module's not really considered that difficult, but everyone makes mistakes under pressure and under this amount of tension in a tournament setting. Asew taking a commanding lead in Bomb 2. Bomb 1 came close down to the very last solve, but Asew by 4 minutes and 4 modules beats out Jasper in Bomb 2 of the set.
I don't know if you have the lists open right now, but what modules haven't we seen from these lists that will probably show up in Bomb 3?
Modules we have not seen. Asew also has a coffee bucks in his pocket. Another interesting. Asew still has yet to see a coffee bucks in encrypted equations. I believe that's it for what wasn't banned. Jasper, we have yet to see a crack box, discolored squares, and or a 3D tunnels.
And honestly, those 3, besides the tunnels, which I think Asew can do well, don't sound that hard, so...
I feel like Asew is absolutely going to have the advantage coming into this final bomb with modules that I would bet my life on. He has diffused a couple dozen more times than Jasper has.
Alright, here we go. Shall we start the final bomb of this set?
Let's get cracking.
And we'll be hearing audio from Jasper this time. As you can see, there's another hypercube. there's the Nomai, as I mentioned earlier. And there's another Roman art for Asew. Definitely seems like features more of his harder modules than Jasper's modules.
I feel like the return of the logical buttons is absolutely going to give Asew even more of an edge here, because that was one of the modules he proved that he was better than Jasper at in Bomb 1, diffusing the entire module in shorter time than it took Jasper to get one stage done.
Yeah, I see 2 crack boxes there. One got picked from Jasper's list and the other from the staff list. That's pretty funny.
Funny that it happens that way.
That's probably bad for Jasper, honestly, because Crackbox isn't too hard.
No, it's not really, well, it isn't too hard, but it is a module that I'm willing to bet, obviously, Jasper is more comfortable with him putting it on his list.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's something pleasant for him to see, but I don't think it's going to be enough to really shift the bomb in his favor or not.
Now, if you've noticed, in case you do not know, Nomai does some very weird things with the status light, and after a while, it does reset and will make the status light red. It doesn't actually strike the bomb, even though it kind of looks like it, but it is giving a little bit of a quote-unquote reset, because you only have a certain amount of time to input all your actions before the module resets. And that was not a real strike, even though Asew pressed the button. It doesn't make any sounds when it strikes. As you can see, that was not a strike either. So don't worry, guys. He's not blowing up the bomb. Now, as you can see, he actually made it to the destination right there, the 6th location, I believe it's called. You're supposed to be on that when you finish, before that timer runs out and resets. And you also have to make it where the module will not reset to solve it. Does he have it? No! You saw the light turn green, but it did not stay solved, and he has to work through a lot of guess and check work again.
Oh boy. This appears to be taking quite a chunk out of Asew's time, not strike-wise, but just dedication-wise. If he doesn't get it done fast enough and it ends up making it so that he doesn't get all 11 solves on this bomb, it might end up putting it in Jasper's favor with him focusing on all the other modules first.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Jasper just finishing up Hypercube.
Jasper has already made extremely quick work out of both of the crack boxes and his discolored squares. Now also solving Hypercube, putting him 2 solves up on Asew. I believe Nomai finally just solved for it. Asew having also solved the Hypercube just a little while ago.
Interesting, Jasper clicked on the sun, which will automatically reset the timer no matter what. Probably just to save some time.
You know a lot more about Nomai than I do, Aspect. So
I barely know. This is only from what I've read and tried it, and I could not understand it at all. But I kind of got a gist. I'm not even sure if it's correct, but that's just what I've read.
So inputting for encrypted equations, but holding the solution in fear of a strike. It looks like he's going to go back to finding a line in 3D tunnels. Yep, that's 3 symbols. That's a line. And he just has to orient himself properly and find out how to get to the padlock.
Mm-hmm. Anyway, looks like Jasper could not find the correct path for Nomai either.
Nomai really becoming a challenge for both of the players. Asew placing his first correct symbol in 3D tunnels. He now only has 2 more to go before the module solves. But usually after you get your first symbol, it's really easy to just get the other ones. Bim, bam, boom, once you figure out a route to get there.
Yeah, you picked 3D tunnels last season, right? For your FM list?
3D tunnels is one of my favorite modules of all time. Mainly because the spatial recognition modules like Pattern Cube and 3D tunnels I am very confident on. I am very confident on just the observation and just visualizing 3D types of modules. Asew getting his 2nd and 3rd stages of 3D tunnels done, putting him up to 3 solves.
Now moving on to Coffee Bucks, which is more of a time-related mod, so I gotta go quick on this. As if this game didn't make you want to go quick enough. There's a bomb that needs to be defused here. But yeah, for coffee bucks, definitely doing it as fast as possible will make it where you don't have to spend as many cycles or resets or drinks getting served to solve it. And oftentimes you maybe do it in only 2 drinks. Sometimes if you're slow enough though, you might have to take 3 or worst case some more.
Speaking of which, if I'm not mistaken, I believe Asew just cashed an $8 plus tip, which I believe is pretty good pace for a coffee bucks.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, there you go. 2 drinks solved on coffee bucks for Asew. I'm really liking Asew's chances, even though he is only finally just caught up to a solve lead. Mainly because A, he has his encrypted equations prepped to solve, and B, I believe he's shown that the difference in time he can make on not only Roman art, which he turns out he was just saving on the first bomb, despite us thinking that he gave up on it, came back to it later. But I still am really wanting to focus on that logical buttons, which I believe Asew can absolutely overtake Jasper on.
Jasper, if you noticed, had solved No Mai, so that hopefully won't be an issue for him anymore, other than the time it took. And now solves encrypted equations.
Encrypted equations. I believe he put in the same solution that Asew has queried up on his own. Which is good news for Asew. Jasper getting started on Pattern Cube, while Asew has gone to Roman art.
And you know, I've always wondered if the rules in Roman art that deal with the broken numerals can be rewritten as numbers, not in Roman numerals. I'm not too sure if that's possible, though, without some weird, like, edge cases in modulo.
Well, I'll go check Caleb after we're done with this, then, and I'll get his opinion on it. I feel like he's the authority on Roman art here.
Jasper now solving that pattern cube, moving on to logical buttons, which he really spent a long time on bomb 1, so hopefully he doesn't spend as much time on this as he does in bomb 1 if he ever wants to solve this bomb faster and win this set.
Asew has moved on from Roman art, presumably because he has a solution ready to go. He's now starting work on Pattern Cube.
Oh, 2 strikes there!
No! Jasper was attempting to input the solution for the first stage and clicked the first 2 buttons before realizing that the first one was wrong, meaning he strikes on the second press as well.
Oh no, that may have cost him the bomb.
2 strikes halfway through the bomb. That may do him in, regardless of whatever pacing advantage he may have had. The bomb HUD is saying that he's still better ahead of pace than Asew, but Asew's pace is not taking into account the modules that he has prepped to go at any time. I feel like that should swing back in his favor almost any moment now.
Yeah. You know, sometimes, even though you gotta go fast, sometimes you gotta take your time with those button presses.
Asew can make even comparable time with these crack boxes. He's absolutely in the chair to come out of this series on top. Once again, leaving his submissions for later.
Really concerned about not striking.
Which appears to be paying off for him so far. Because the 2 strikes on Jasper's end very may well have cost him this bomb. It definitely doesn't appear to be a super fun logical buttons to deal with. For those of you unfamiliar with how it works, each of the buttons gets assigned 2 Boolean variables, true or false, based on their color and their label, and you have to click the ones which give you a true return when applied to the operator that's in the middle. If none of them are true, you must click the variable in the middle to change it, which is a very last case resort and something that people double check themselves for to make sure that do we really have to click the operator?
I mean, you saw Asew click the operator right away there.
Yeah. Just instant. This is where the experience and the ability to solo it is absolutely going to come through for Asew. Getting all 3 stages done
with his bomb? And just has stuff to solve
I think he might just be done. I think he just punches everything in. Has he already solved Roman art? No, I think he just has to punch in Roman art, and he punches his way through.
And that is it. Asew.
That's insane.
wins this set versus Jasper 2-1. Congratulations, Asew.
Wow.
And it's with 5 minutes and 8 seconds. Very good for that bomb.
Once again, running less than a module a minute of pace. With a very fast logical button. I told you that this logical buttons was going to be absolutely crucial to the bomb. And look how it ended up. Jasper's 2 strikes. I'm willing to bet if they didn't happen and he had actually gotten that stage correct the first time, it would still be an extremely close battle. But Asew just takes it home.
Yeah.
Wow.
Definitely
impressed by Asew's performance here.
Definitely an opponent to look out for in Group C, which arguably has some of the toughest competition in all of the EFM division.
Yeah, absolutely. Having especially people such as Procyon and Cookiepocalypse, very notable and memorable names from previous iterations of KTaNE League.
And Zerote as well, even though in his first season, I'm pretty sure he's really good at Twitch plays.
Mm-hmm.
Is it Zerote or Zerote? I've always said Zerote.
I honestly wouldn't know. We need a pronunciation guide.
I actually had to ask Jasper before this match how he wanted his name pronounced.
Welcome to Coffee Box. May I take your name, please?
Since there's Elias's voice.
Panda.
Yeah. Nice little cameo in this module.
I believe Coffee Box also includes cameos from not only Royal Flush, but I believe there's also an Ash the Bash cameo in there somewhere as well.
I'm not too sure about that though. I think Royal Flush's wife also has a voice clip.
Ah, Mrs. Flush.
Speaking of which, you can go check out their streams. They stream game shows on Twitch. Regardless, that's not why you're here.
Lost very poorly. But I think with 2 strike time, 15 seconds counting down as he's working on this Coffee Bucks.
Did not get the solve from that last cup there, unfortunately.
Also misses the 2-drink cycle.
And
the bomb will disappear from Jasper's screen, confirming that Asew has in fact won the series 2-1 versus Jasper. An amazing performance from both players. Jasper really pulling through on his first bomb with the Langton's Ant Solve in under a minute. I do think that a lot of this did end up coming down to module generation on the 3rd bomb. I believe that the crackbox rolls were not enough to give Jasper the edge that the logical buttons in Roman Art gave Asew.
Yeah, I mean, Asew did not take that long on those logical buttons, so really there was not a lot of... Not a lot of buttons. The crack boxes, Asew breezed those crack boxes. So yeah, definitely not lucky for Jasper for that bomb for the model selection.
Yeah. Even though Jasper probably did the crack boxes twice as fast as Asew. If it only took Asew 30 seconds, it took Jasper 15. And when it comes to the time differential that was present on some of the other modules, and especially just the strikes that came out on logical buttons were absolutely devastating to Jasper's bomb here.
Yeah, but that will wrap it up for this video, and I'm not too sure when this will get aired, but there's going to be a 3rd match this week that will be broadcasted, and it is my EFM match versus Make a Bow. So stay tuned for that if it hasn't come out yet, and go watch it if it has. Other than that, my name's Asew.
My name's Grunkle Squeaky.
And thank you guys for watching.
Bye-bye.